Welcome back. Okay, we are now rushing into Zone H, be on your guard. This is our first auto-scroller. And before that, I'm going to make some changes, such as changing my weapon, my armor, and my item. I'm switching to defense because I need to survive the level, and 2, I get the last upgrade for the defense armor here, so there's no reason not to switch. Okay, grab this power-up, and now welcome to Let's Play Thunder Force. As you can see, the reason I need to save up all those jewels is because flight actually drains your jewels, and if you run out, well, stop flying. And there are sections of this level where not flying will kill you. So really, the problem with auto-scrolling levels is that you need to manage your need for flight with your need to not die to the hordes of enemies that will inevitably appear. Thankfully, this level is somewhat more gentle than the auto-scrolling level we'll have later, so you can learn the kinds of management you'll need to in order to survive the next one. What we just picked up was the Hunter, the last new weapon in the game. It is our homing weapon, and I'm not equipping it right now. There is an upgrade for it later in the level, but we'll be sticking till the later until we get that. Oh, whoops. Ah, there we go. Now, I was a bit hesitant to use the Hunter in my regular plays because homing weapons have a tendency to be weak in shmups, like in Toho or other games, and even in Thunder Force, kinda. Not so in this game. The Hunter is a surprisingly strong homing weapon, and you really should give it a shot. Okay, that's the last upgrade for the defense armor. And the last armor upgrade we'll be getting until the final level. Oh yes, it is possible to get trapped through walls in this game, but it doesn't instantly kill you. What it does do is that you take damage when you're smushed against the far side, but you still pass through the wall, taking damage as you go, as though you were standing on an enemy or something. It's surprisingly merciful for this game, which is something of a blessing. Now, this is one of those sections where if you have no flight time, you will die. It's also where the enemy attacks get somewhat more intense, and I end up just using the time stopper to avoid taking too much damage. It's not like I don't have the jewels for it anyway. They're actually fairly generous with them during flight stages, as far as I can remember anyway. Though there was a time on the final level where I did run out and ended up dying. It was my first time through. Pretty much expected. I find it kinda odd that even though Megas has already made all these grand schemes to capture Valia, his method for trying to deal with Yuko is throw an army at her and see what happens. Well, an army, Alexander the Grape, and 2 biomechanical flying fortresses. Yeah, the one thing I kinda prefer in the turbo version over the sharp x68 version of this game is that when they say army in the turbo version, you actually fight enemies that look like soldiers. Now I just feel like I'm playing Life Force, or even worse, Abadox. Now, because of the auto-scrolling, you may miss some items and have no way to get back to them, and this coming one is one that you can easily miss if you just don't even know it's there. That is the Integral. It is the temporary invincibility power-up of this game. It's a special item, it costs 10 jewels to use, but I won't be using it yet, but I will be using it pretty heavily in the next level. The next level is just too long and huge, and it makes me feel better to not get hurt constantly by all the traps in there. You know, the reason I go up and down all the time is because I'm just scared to death of missing something, and I don't like having to redo recordings. Oh yes, that upgrade just brings the level of our cluster to level 3. And an earlier upgrade we got upgraded our exploder to 3. I will never upgrade above level 3 in this game, because there's actually a fairly serious glitch with the weapon upgrade system. Basically, when you upgrade to level 4, it actually drastically reduces the attack power of your weapons. So even if it looks like there's some other benefit, like increased fire rate or whatever, the drop in power is so significant that it's not worth it at all. Life restoration, meaning... Okay, a huge general, Alexander the Grape, is approaching fast. Cluster is actually more useful for this boss fight. A lot of the attacks come from head-on, so you'll need to get around their shots, and enemy shots always have priority over yours. I think this is just to drain your jewels. So here we are. The first phase of the fight is the rocket punch phase. It doesn't last very long even if you don't use the chainsword glitch. It's not the main thrust of the boss fight. That would be what comes after, where you have to fight his gigantic hair louse. Now, as you can see, the cluster shots spin around above and behind him and finish him off pretty quick. Oh wow, it hardly even looks like she used her sword to kill him. Maybe she just plain rider kicked his head off. And it looks like Alexander the Grape evil FedExed the Phantasm jewelry all the way to Megas. Well, we lost a whole army, one of our top generals, and our flying fortresses, but she's all tuckered out. Acceptable exchange. The one thing that can actually hold Daelus's focus for more than 1/10 of a second. You know, one of the great ironies I find is that Valia is the most motherly towards Yuko in the version of Valis 2 where she's not actually Yuko's mother. However, regular canon Valia isn't even the worst of the Valias throughout the history of the Valis series. What am I doing? The worst would probably be the Valia in the NES version of Valis 1, where after you defeat Rogueless, she tries to pull a Thanatos and possess Yuko's body, because her own is disintegrating, so you actually have to fight Valia as the final boss. Oh wow, the cannon is a monster too. See, soon I shall rule the world. Oh, wait, that's the free space. Yeah, Yuko really shouldn't be so down on herself. Rogueless was no pushover. Even besides his arcanist shenanigans, he was pretty much muscle wizard. Oh, that's just wrong. His cyber eye can contract with rage? You impudent fool. That's bingo. Oh, Dalus, you were in danger ever since you decided to work for Magus. I guess rage is no substitute for competent engineering. And that's the last we'll be seeing of him in this story. And Megas just blew up a big chunk of his own fortress, too. So the villain's ultimate super weapon didn't work, but nobody knows where Valia is. Well, that's about it for this chapter. We'll be seeing you next time.